Right now,
Yeah? Right now, what?
Oh, I haven't heard that one in a while. Jesse Sharkey.
Hey,
There's the Chicago Teachers Union.
Jesse Sharkey and company, thanks for sponsoring the Ben Joravsky Show. Yes, today's Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by the Chicago Teachers Union, SEIU Healthcare, Illinois, Indiana, and the Chicago Federation of Labor. Also, of course, today's show is brought to you by the Chicago Reader, chicagoreader.com for all things there is to know the city of Chicago. And if you want to help out this program, you can become a bin head. chicagoreader.com/Joravsky. Hey, how's it going, Terry? Terry says, hello, with a question mark. Hello, Terry, on the live stream chat. chicagoreader.com/Joravsky for more information on how you can help this program. It is Thursday, July 1st, and live from my apartment and his attic, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, she's back. Alderwoman Sue Sadlowski Garza. And now your host. He's back. Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here, calling this Nothing's Changed Thursday. And here's why. Ever get the feeling that nothing's changed, that it's all still the same? We act like the fights, the issues, the debates, the fears, the crises of the last few years have passed. But guess what? They're still here because nothing's changed. I was not expecting that.
I mean, it fit perfectly there. So,
excuse me, folks. I have to get my composure and have a drink of water. I think the days in the attic are starting to get to me, dude.
Well, it's been about a year or so. I guess that makes sense.
Getting kind of used to the attic. Where was I? Oh, yes, nothing's changed. Case in point, COVID. We thought we were done with this one. Stories, however, are starting to creep in the paper that the Delta virus is more persistent than they thought. It seems to be growing. Yes, immunization offers some protection, but not full protection. And over half the population in a lot of states still is not immunized anyway, and they show no signs of getting immunized, and it remains a political issue. It's always been a political issue. So like I said, nothing's changed. Oh my goodness. Hold on, someone said, I bet this is our guest. Whenever I get a text in the middle of my opening, it's always, no, it's not.
Oh, there we go.
we have a baby boomer guest today, ladies and gentlemen. Always a little uncertainty when we do that hookup with the baby. I know we're smashing the fourth wall, D, but what the hell? Where was I? Oh, yes, nothing's changed. The University of North Carolina's baseball team got knocked out of the College World Series because so many players had COVID. Coach said he didn't want to demand his players get the immunization because he didn't want to get involved in a political decision. Political? I thought it was a health matter. Now it's one of these political issues you can't discuss in public. Like, you know, when you used to get together with the family and they'd tell you, don't ask Uncle Harry about his views on affirmative action. Just ignore the issue. Now people are starting to say, better wear those masks. Speaking of political decision, wearing a mask has been a political decision since for about a year now. Mixed messages never change when it comes to COVID. Just a few months ago, they were saying, hooray, take your masks off. Hooray, full attendance at baseball stadiums. Now, wait a minute. I'm just thinking about this. We got all these guys in MAGA hats at baseball games. They're not wearing masks and they're not immunized. And they're telling us that this new strain, the Delta virus, is more persistent and more deadly and more scary. But I can't talk about it because it's politically incorrect. You don't want to offend anybody. Isn't that weird? The coach at North Carolina is bowing down to political correctness in his dealings with the MAGA members of the team because let's face it, folks, if you have the immunization, you're not afraid to talk about it. It's really only the people who don't have it who are afraid to talk about it. I thought the right was supposed to have wiped out political correctness, but it's still here. The point is, nothing's changed. I'll give you another example. Donald Trump. Yeah, they kicked him off of Twitter, and 50% of America hates his guts, but he's still revered by MAGA. He visited the wall yesterday down in Texas at the border. About a dozen Republican congressmen tagged along with him, and they were tweeting about it and sending emails, fundraising solicitations. I know because I get them all. The governor of Texas, Gregory Abbott, welcomed him to the state, sent out an email. I'll be meeting with Donald Trump like it's some great honor. I've never seen such reverence for a president who lost an election. After Jimmy Carter lost in 1980, Democrats didn't want to get anywhere near him. Tams, you might learn a little something from the Republicans. I don't know. Just, you have to, make losers and outcasts from your party. Democrats act as though Trump's been defeated. Dams, I got news for you. He still runs the Republican Party. Nothing's changed.
I'm not a doctor.
Meanwhile, that hasn't changed either. He's still not a doctor. Meanwhile, over on the Democratic side, speaking of things not changing, it's 2016 all over again. Bernie versus Hillary, with Congressman James Clyburn standing in for Hillary. We talked about this yesterday briefly with Monroe. They're having a special congressional election to fill the vacancy caused when Congresswoman Fudge took a job with President Biden. Nina Turner, who was one of the top aides, key strategist, closest political allies to Bernie Sanders, versus Shontel Brown, the moderate in the race. She's sort of the Bernie fill-in, and he's the anti-Bernie fill-in. And James Clyburn, Congressman Clyburn's coming to Ohio saying they're too extreme in their rhetoric. And I know some Democrats, I won't name their names, some Democrats of the Demish persuasion. They hiss when you mention Nina Turner's name. Psst. That's not really a hiss. That's more like a piss. We'll clean that up on the
right,
podcast.
watch it now.
By the way, did you remember my stumble yesterday? I want to give a shout out to Dr. D. Were you paying attention to that?
What was your stumble? Oh, you said shit about me, like a shit out instead of a shout out. Give me a shit.
Yeah. We'll take that off the podcast.
I mean, it's already up and I didn't take it out.
Oh, oops. Don't you hate when that happens? Anyway, they still hiss. You mentioned Nina Turner's name. They still blame Nina Turner for things she said in 2016 that they believe contributed to Hillary's loss, which means they still blame Nina Turner for Trump's win. Back in the old days when Dennis and I were working for a radio station whose name I cannot remember, I think it was WCU later, we used to have a joke. When we wanted to get calls, when we wanted people to call in the station, what did Dennis call it? Go to Blue 42. This is my invitation. This is my invitation. By the way, Dennis was the master, the absolute master of getting people to call. He would go, like a guest would cancel. He would go, Ben, don't worry. I got it. Watch this. Watch this. And I'd be like, okay. I was a rookie, man. It's so funny because I was the old guy. He was the young guy, but I was the rookie. He's like, watch this. And then he would go, oh, that Hillary, what a douche, right? 773-222-5800. We're taking your calls.
Oh, and then it's actually WCPT 820. They fired you. And the phone, 773-763-9278.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. And then the phones would light up. I love Hillary. I hate Bernie. I hate Hillary. I love Bernie. I'd be sitting back smoking a doobie.
Yo, D, what do we do, man? I don't know. Call Hillary a shithead and watch people just call up. It's awesome.
Yeah, the good old days. Nothing's changed. Democrats still fighting. This 2016 will never end. They'll be in the senior citizen home. Happy days, happy farms. 30 years from now, it was Hillary's fault. No, it was Nina Turner. Another example, Democratic investigation into Trump. This time they think they got him. I was talking about it yesterday. They think they got him. They've indicted Alan Weisselberg, the chief financial officer for the Trump Organization. This dude's been working for the Trump family forever. He started off with Daddy Trump, who's a bookkeeper. He has to know every secret about the financial wheeling and dealings of Donald John Trump. He probably knows where all the bodies are buried. I wouldn't be surprised if he buried them. The feds, the prosecutors in New York, they're going to threaten him with some jail time. You know how it works. They'll squeeze him, hope a rat on Trump. Yeah, they still trying to bring down Trump. I'm with you guys. I asked this of Monroe yesterday. What's more outrageous? Bill Cosby out of jail or Donald Trump never having been in jail? Definitely the latter. Anyway, lock him up. Remember that chant? Of course you do. They still say it at Trump rallies. And I still want them to do it to Trump because nothing's changed. We'll see if Trump wiggles out of this one like he's wiggled out of all the others, in which case it really will be nothing's changed. What else? January 6th insurrection. I did something really dumb yesterday, confession to make. I watched the 40-minute New York Times documentary about the January 6th insurrection. The New York Times put this thing together and they dropped it yesterday, and I shouldn't have watched it, folks, but I watched it. Why do I say it was not a good idea to do it? Because it was one of the most depressing things I've seen. So obvious what went down. Trump fired up the true believers, sent them to the Capitol where they raised holy hell. They were smashing windows and throwing fire extinguishers and hitting cops over the heads with hockey sticks. Hockey sticks, man. I still always gets me when I see the guy whacking the cop with the hockey stick. Talking about hanging Pence. It was all there. Everything we already knew. Republican Party doesn't want to talk about it. The party of law and order doesn't want to talk about the lawlessness and disorder of its own members. That's because MAGA runs the Republican Party, and MAGA still thinks that the insurrectionists, the people with the hockey sticks whacking cops over the head, were just like tourists visiting the nation's capital. They want to talk about Black Lives Matter. Scared the hell out of white people. Speaking of things that never, ever change. Got to keep fighting, folks. Got to keep on it. This year is much the same as last year because, like I said, nothing's changed. We got a great show today, everybody. Alderwoman Sue Sadlowski Garza, the pride and joy of the 10th Ward, the pride and joy of the Southeast Side, the woman who makes it all possible on the labor front, is joining us. It's been a long, long time since Sue Sadlowski Garza has been on this show. But as they say on her favorite 70s TV show, Welcome Back, Kotter. She's coming. Sue Sadlowski Garza absolutely loves Welcome Back, Kotter. It's her favorite show. Gabe Kaplan, she's got a Gabe Kaplan t-shirt on right now.
Vinny Barbarino.
What is that, young lady?
Vinny Barbarino on that show?
Don't act like it's a question you don't know. Don't act like you didn't just binge last night, Sue Sadlowski Garza, on 3 episodes. Don't act like you weren't listening to John Sebastian sing Welcome Back.
Your dreams were your ticket out.
Sue, it's been a long time since you've been on the show, but I see one thing hasn't changed. You still have that angelic singing voice.
Yes, I'll tell you. Raul tells me that every night while I sing him to bed, sing him to sleep. I'm so happy to see you guys.
Yes. Isn't Dennis a good-looking guy?
He is a very good-looking guy.
I am flattered.
Nothing's changed in that front. By the way, I'm going to do some promotion before we do this interview. The Reader is a fundraising effort. I put together some of the greatest hits, articles I've written down through the years. They asked me to assemble them. Uh-oh.
Hello?
Phone call coming in. And so one of the articles I selected was my profile of Sue Sadlowski Garza from, I want to say it was 2016. I spent a lot of time hanging around with Sue in the 10th Ward on the Southeast Side. We had a blast doing that story. It was in the early days of her term as just a recently elected alderwoman. So anyway, I urge everybody to buy the book. Help the reader, but enjoy reading about Sue Sadlowski Garza. Because Sue, a lot has changed. My theme of today's show is nothing's changed, but kind of a lot has changed from those days. Let's think about for a moment You know, 2016. Go ahead.
I would go back to those days if in a heartbeat, if I could.
Why do you say that?
It just seems that it just seems like times were simpler. You know, people were nicer. You know, there's a lot of things have happened in the past, you know, whatever, 15, 16 months that, you know, people are really angry and disgruntled, and I don't know. It seems like it's a whole different world to me now. Back then.
Well, let's go back then, since you mentioned it. There was a certain amount of, how do I put this? Just really like righteousness in the air. When you ran in 2015, you were supported by the Chicago Teachers Union. You were wearing red. Karen Lewis was championing your candidacy. You were running against a longtime incumbent, John Pope. You can't forget your history, ladies and gentlemen. This went down in 2015. All right. She was running against John Pope, who was supported by Rahm Emanuel, the all-powerful mayor of the city of Chicago. And Rahm Emanuel made no secret of how much he, A, wanted John Pope to be reelected, and how much, B, he did not want Sue Sadlowski Garza to be elected. And you eked out a victory over Pope in a runoff. It came down to like my memory is like recount after how many votes?
3 recounts and 21 votes.
So there was a lot of tension in the air. It was a lot of desperation in the air. There was a lot of like bullying, a word that we hear a lot these days, in the air. You and your supporters were intimidated. Even after you won, they try to intimidate you. Okay. So you still think that was a better time than today?
In a sense, I do. It seemed like things were so much simpler. I mean, people were fighting for what was right and just, and, you know, fighting for the common good. But I think just so many things have changed. I don't know. I don't know if things have changed. Things have been brought to light in the fact that I think people, and the kids always say people are woke. You know, now people are really, they're not staying silent anymore, which is a good thing, right? It's a good thing. I just wish people would exude a little more kindness in their life. And a lot of people have a lot of things to be angry about. So I can understand where that's coming from. It's difficult being an elected official from the get-go, but it become even more difficult in the times that we live in now. So when you look at the times that we live in now, do you ever look about how when you were an outsider demanding change and you go, oh my God, I was unkind? Do you ever have that thought? Or do you think that what you did was legitimate when you were really angry and banging on the wall? I have never been unkind. My husband might disagree with you, but disagree with me. I've never been unkind to anybody. And I have a saying in my office, ABC, always be compassionate. Because I don't care if you come in the door because a squirrel is on your porch or a tree fell through your window, right? People are here for a reason. Always be compassionate. I try really hard. There's times when I have to close the door and say some derogatory things in private to myself, but I'm never mean to anybody ever. I try not to be anyway.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the things that people have been mean to you. And folks, when I say this, Sue and I had a conversation about a couple of weeks ago where she just really opened up a lot. So I don't know how much she's going to open up now, but I'm just going to start by saying the Sadlowski in that name means something. Her father is a longtime, may he rest in peace, great labor leader, a lefty like me on the southeast side of Chicago, stood with Harold Washington. People forget history. They don't know history. So that Sadlowski name means something. The Garza name means something too. Her husband is a huge White Sox fan, but it doesn't have the same political ramifications of Sadlowski. And yet Sue found herself on the other side of opposition to the General Iron plant that was moving down to her ward, the 10th ward, which is on the far southeast side. People said a whole lot of nasty things about Sue Sadlowski Garza. I'm just going to say, youngsters out there, I know you disagreed with her on that issue, but that Sadlowski name means something, and you shouldn't just tarnish it like it's like she's the same thing as Rahm Emanuel or Lori Lightfoot or whoever else is out, or Richie Daley. So that's just me talking. So I had to get that off my chest.
No, that's okay. I'd love to touch base. I'd love to comment on that. So, when this all went down, this whole General Iron thing, first of all, I want to say I have mad respect for people that organize around a truth, right? And they stick up for what's not right and unfair and unjust. I have mad respect for that. But what I don't have respect for is people that withhold information and only tell bits and pieces of a story to push your agenda. And I voted no on Lincoln Yards. I voted no on anything that had to do with the Sterling Bay initiative. And what people don't know, even people that have been living in my ward for 60, 70 years, they didn't know that South Shore Recycling had been here for 29 years. So the narrative about, they're moving from the north side, coming to the south side is not correct. Yes, RMG South Shore Recycling bought General Iron's customers. Yes, they did. Yes, they have expanded their facility, but they've been here. They're Teamsters, Local 731. They've been here for 29 years. So it's not a new facility. For me, we have to talk about recycling in a safe and an environmentally friendly way. I think that's really important because I have 9 landfills in my ward. I don't want to fill up a landfill with more scrap metal and all this other stuff. We make steel out of what they recycle. And when folks showed up, we had a meeting when I found out that this place was, they were merging, the first people that I called were the environmental justice community. They came to my office. We had a meeting. I told them everything I knew. We proceeded to meet with South Shore Recycle. We proceeded to meet, the LabCon family was here. We met in my office. I had the environmental justice community at the table. I had NRDC at the table. And the dialogue continued, and we had a meeting on a Thursday, and these folks showed up in front of my house on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. And I went outside. I went out there. And first of all, nobody, not Sue Garza, not Rahm, nobody, not Ben Jaworski, can stop a company from buying another company. That's a private sale. I can't stop that. That's a private sale. You can't stop that from happening. I did not have to give a blessing or anything to allow them to merge with somebody because they were already an existing facility doing the same type of work. And the folks that were out in front of my house were yelling and calling me a white supremacist. What? I'm married to a Latino. My son-in-law's Korean. My nieces are Black. I mean, my family looks like the United Nations, and I'm really proud of that. So one of the younger kids, I think, and I'm not going to even say the name because he doesn't deserve it. I think you had him on your show, but he said, "Why won't you meet with the environmental justice community?" I said, and I looked right at one of the women that was in my office on Thursday. I said, "Peggy, do you want to talk about the meeting we had on Thursday?" They stood there silent. Like, don't feed mistruths to people. Tell them the whole story. And then let people make up their own mind. Let people become critical thinkers. Let them make up their own mind. And that's, to me, what really, really bothered me about the whole thing. They made me the scapegoat.
Well, in my humble opinion, calling Sue Sadlowski Garza white supremacist is absolutely ridiculous. But now I'm going to go back to the issue itself. And this is where I will disagree with you a little bit, maybe a lot. This facility, so folks know, yes, there was a facility. Okay, let's give a geography lesson, Sue, to everybody in the city of Chicago. Sue Sadlowski Garza is the Alderwoman from the 10th Ward, which is that portion of the city that curves underneath the lake and kisses Indiana. Like right down the street from Sue's house, you can go to the Horseshoes. You go to the casino in Indiana, go put some money, lose some money playing the games. So that's how close. That's how far away it is from the central Chicago, and sort of a forgotten place in the city. For years and years and years, there were steel mills there. It was a thriving industrial. What's that?
9 steel mills. We had 134,000 steelworker jobs in District 31.
Yes. I knew she would know that because her old man was a steel union activist. So the steel industry's been hit hard. A lot of those factories have closed. So the big issue is what to do with the vacant land. It's also been the site of a lot of dumping down through the years, a lot of landmines. Writing about that. Everyone knows about it. So in my humble opinion, the city of Chicago came to the conclusion that they wanted to move a shredding operation from the north side so they could free the north side for development, the aforementioned Lincoln Yards development that Sue just alluded to, which they were going to subsidize with $1 billion handout, a TIF handout, which Sue voted against. Okay, because she knows I would have given her holy hell if she voted for it, but she voted against it, and the facility merged with another existing facility on the south side in Sue's ward, and they built a bigger shredding operation. Now,
so hold on, the shredder they've been shredding here for 29 years. The shredder was never enclosed. There was no environmental controls, no nothing. Now, here's the oxymoron about what's happening here is that now they're not operating because the city delayed the permit, whatever, but now we have environmental controls that don't exist anywhere for like 800 miles. We have a shredder that's enclosed, never was before. We are allowing Sims Metal to shred stoves, cars, refrigerators right now as we speak in the 22nd ward, or no, 25. I don't know, Byron, Alderman Sigcho Lopez's ward.
25th.
25. They're shredding right now as we speak with zero environmental controls, nothing. They're shredding it now, right across the street from a home, right across the street. And no one's saying anything. What are we doing? If we're going to shut them down, shut them all down. I mean, I'm serious. If we want to do something to really make the environment better, shut them all down.
Well, that's a thought. And that's a possibility. In my humble opinion, Mayor Rahm's administration decided they didn't want to shut it down. They wanted to keep that business whole. And so they essentially were moving heaven and earth to clear it out of the north side, where it had been subject of many complaints from residents on the north side, and hasten the development of Lincoln Yards, that area. The actual shredder will not be on the Lincoln Yards footprint, but it's right across the Chicago River. So it's part of the larger developmental scheme that the city has, where they convert what had been an industrial area on the north side into a residential commercial area, continuing the gentrification of the city, subsidizing the gentrification of the city, and that means moving existing facilities to the south side. They did it with, Sue, they did it with a fleet facility where they keep the dump trucks, the garbage trucks. They didn't move that to your ward. They moved that to Rod Sawyer's 6th ward. And every time they did it, Sue, they would flip it with the PR. Like, well, we're not really moving it out of the north side so that richer guys can get even richer than they already are with our subsidies. What we're doing is we're moving it to the south side because we love the south side so much.
And we want to bring jobs there. And we
yes.
want to, yeah, 100%. It is political spin. You're absolutely right. And you know, for me, the thing that my ward is very unique in the fact that I have the International Port Authority here that runs from 92nd all the way to 137th. Federal waterway. My river is a true working river. Like it'll never be the Riverwalk. Almost over 7,000 people work along the river. It leads to the St. Lawrence Seaway. It leads to the Great Lakes, the oceans. We have ships here all the time that are from Poland and Sweden, and we are a true working river. And it's never going to be, I am not ashamed to say it's never going to be the Riverwalk. Do we deserve nice things? Do we deserve parks and green spaces? Absolutely, 150 million %. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we have to change a federal waterway and eradicate all the jobs along our river, because that would be Ford employs almost 7,000 people itself. And that doesn't even include the other, whatever, 7,200, maybe even more now, because we have a new development that's coming at the old Republic Steel site. But, you know, that's a lot of jobs. I mean, our ward, the 10th ward, built the city of Chicago. Literally, we made the steel that built the Sears Tower and the Aon building and the Prudential, and it came out of our ward, and I'm proud of that. Some of the most hardest working, humblest people you will ever meet come from the 10th ward, and I'll stand by that hook, line, and sinker. And every single time I'm out, or I have a community meeting, or we do a poll or a survey, or when I talk to people, what's your number one priority? Jobs. We need jobs. Because we lost all those jobs, and the residual effect after the mills closed, then, you know, so did the stores and the shoe stores and the bars and restaurants. We lost all that. And we were left with just a shell and a bunch of brownfields. You know, who in the hell, you tell me one other place in the city of Chicago that has 480 acres of undeveloped lakefront property that is sitting idle. That's bigger than the Loop.
No, and then when we were doing the story in 2016, we were doing the drive-through going around the ward, we were talking obsessively about that undeveloped land and how it should be developed. And it's like, if you just took everything away, just took the location away, took the reputation of the Southeast Side for being a factory or an industrial area, and took away the image of Lincoln Park as the upscale community where rich people live, there's no difference between the land in the 10th Ward and the land in Lincoln Park. It's on the lake, people. It's the same freaking lake. One is on the south side, the other's on the north side.
Yeah.
And so what like people who care about the city are wrestling with is the issue of, Sue, do you develop it residentially? Do you try to head in that Lincoln Park direction, or do you try to maintain the industrial base so that people have jobs? If you are going to develop it residentially, are you going to have a mixed community so that you're not displacing working people? Or are you going to try to really hit pay dirt and go for upscale gentrification like a la Lincoln Park and turn the south side into the north side? And this is the debate that's going on. In the meantime, it's like market forces exist, Sue, that are greater than our control. Developers who say they're going to come develop it, they go bankrupt, they change their mind, the subsidy isn't there, the deal dies. You read about it in Cranes one day like it's a done deal, then you read about it in Cranes and
nothing will happen. And you know the most ironic thing about it is that if the city would have said, we're going to give you a developer $1 billion in TIF money to develop U.S. Steel property, nobody would have batted an eye, because it's a blighted community. There's nothing happening here. You really want to make a change, right? If we would have did a Lincoln Yards on the southeast side, I would have voted yes, because that's what a true blighted community really is. But the thing about U.S. Steel that most folks don't know is that, you know, it's not about, I'm making this up. If the asking price, if they got $68 million for the 480 acres, it's not about the sale of the property. It's about the lack of infrastructure. And from what I'm being told, folks that work in the Department of Planning, there's no streets, there's no sewers, there's no lights, there's 22 feet of slag. Like, you can't, to be able to put sewers and streets, it's going to cost almost $1 billion to develop just the infrastructure there. So it's not just about buying the property, it's about putting all that infrastructure in, because sewers don't even exist over there. Steelworkers Park is the only place in the whole city of Chicago that has zero light pollution. You can see Venus. We've had the planetarium out there. There's no lights because there's no light. There's no electricity out there. There's no bathroom at the park. There, you know.
Yeah, no, it would be a huge investment, a lot of money. Before we leave this one completely, so in your humble opinion,
Yes.
if they allowed General Iron to completely merge with the existing company in your ward and have the full operation, are you confident with the plans that they have set up that it would protect people in the area from pollution, or do you think more work needs to be done to guarantee the safety of folks in the 10th ward?
So I think on paper, their plan looks good, but what the onus falls on the city of Chicago to enforce what we've put into place, right? And I'm really proud of the work that we've done. We passed an air quality ordinance that came straight from the environmental justice community, the folks that we've been working with for 6 years. Some of the ideas that they gave us, you know, there has to be a traffic study, there has to be increased fines, you have to have air monitors. We banned implosions, we banned, incinerators, we banned mining. All these things that we've put into place are some of the strongest and stringent rules in the nation. And I'm really proud of that, but it really doesn't mean anything if we don't have somebody that's going to inspect and enforce, right? So, and we run into that a lot with trying to get people to come out and investigate an issue that we have, just because there's not enough people to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the city of Chicago has pulled back on the issue of environmental oversight over the last 5 or 6 years. Rahm got rid of the department altogether, but it just wasn't on his radar, and Lori Lightfoot hasn't completely brought it back. And so, yeah, there's just the notion of moving something to the north side to the south side. So, so that millions can be made in development in the north side really rubs me the wrong way. I just got to say, it rubs me the wrong way. It just seems like the way we've done things in the city for so long.
And I understand people, and I totally understand people's frustration and anger around that, especially in the 10th ward. I mean, I've lived here my whole life. My grandkids live here, my children, some of my children live here, some of them don't. But, I would never do anything to hurt people that live here. I live here too. I would never do anything to hurt anyone. I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old granddaughter that mean the world to me that live right on 111th, and F. I look out for that every single day. Again, nobody even knew the facility was here for 29 years. And then all of a sudden, boom.
No, the southeast side is a trip. Nobody knows anything about the southeast side. Now, I love
right.
it. I had so much fun with this one when the Columbus statue thing was a big showdown, and Mayor Lightfoot got rid of the Columbus statue, which was where was that, in the South Loop? It was a site of confrontation between protesters and cops. I'm like, there's a Columbus statue on the southeast side.
Yes.
Nobody wanted to go down there. It's too far away.
100%. No one knew. Well, I mean, here's the thing. They knew after they put it in the paper, but I was thinking the same thing. And, it's in this nice little roundabout with the circle. And I made a call. I'm like, get it down, take it out of here. So they did.
That phone call in the background is Mayor Lori Lightfoot calling Sue. How come you're not calling me back? Just kidding. I don't know what that phone is. All right. The
bat phone, baby.
The bat phone. Let's talk about your position as chair of the Labor Committee and the City Council. I know you're really proud of some of the things you've accomplished. So take a moment to celebrate those successes before I start asking the hard questions. Go ahead.
So I was humbled when I was asked to be chairman of workforce development. And this is going to sound very like I'm full of myself, but there's nobody in city council that knows labor like me. Nobody, not one single person. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. There just isn't. And I find it really ironic that for the 4 years that I sat in city council, literally nobody asked me for the time of day. And now when labor issues come up or something comes across, I have all kind of people calling me some of my colleagues are calling me, what about this? What do you think about that? What do we think about that? So I feel like I've earned my chops and people respect me for my knowledge and for my past and what I know. But a lot of the ordinances, a lot of the things that we've passed out of workforce, we just passed a hotel right to return ordinance that will enable people that work for the hotel industry to be able to get their jobs back. And, that might sound like, well, there's a lot of union hotels. They have seniority lists. Yeah, but here's the thing. If you're a 50-year-old woman and you've been working at the W for 20 years, 25 years, maybe the hotels might not want to call you back because you're at the top of the pay scale, right? So now they have to go, even if you're non-union, they have to call back in order of seniority, which I think is a huge win, right? Because those jobs mainly are held by Black and brown women. So we passed that. We raised the minimum wage 2 years ahead of the state. That was huge. That just went into effect today. Woohoo, July 1st, actually. We passed Fair Work Week that actually gives workers the right to a schedule, right? And now it's like if I go to work at a restaurant and they say, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have any tables today, go home, which you don't have a stable paycheck. You don't, you pay for childcare, you take transportation to your job, and then you get there and you're there for 2 hours, you go home. Now they have to pay you for your time, and the time that you were scheduled to work, they have to pay you for that. So now you have a stable paycheck. We passed an anti-retaliation ordinance against COVID. If you're sick or you need a vaccine, your employer cannot retaliate against you if you have to take off or go get, a shot or something like that. We got the airport, the transporters, we got them out of the tipped wage category. And I didn't even know that this was happening. And I found out it was happening like 2017. And a lot of the stuff that we tried to pass, we never even got off the ground. It was killed before we could even do anything under ROM. And we got the airport transporters. We brought them up to minimum wage because they were working for like $6 an hour. And, you got grandma at the United terminal and you're pushing somebody for 3 miles, and they weren't allowed to solicit tips under the FAA guidelines. So these folks were making literally $6.10 an hour. It's crazy. We brought domestic workers up to the minimum wage category. We passed an anti-wage theft ordinance. So you know what? I'm kicking ass and taking names. My workforce staff, as well as the staff in my office, is probably the most educated staff in the whole city. I'm very proud of the work that we're doing. I really am. And we're making a difference in the lives of many, many workers.
In these instances, was there strong opposition from the business community or corporate Chicago to these initiatives?
Yes, there was a lot of opposition, but let me tell you how I do things differently. I believe that any single, and I think I learned this from, being part of the teachers union and negotiating contracts and stuff like that. But I think that any piece of legislation that comes through my committee, you get a seat at the table. And we talk about it, and you push, you pull, you push, you pull. But that's democracy. Everyone gets a voice. I don't believe in jamming anything down people's throats. I don't care if you're the hotel industry. I had to sit across the table from Walmart and talk about Fair Work Week and the hospital association, and people telling me like, my workers don't want to schedule. They want to be, I'm like, they don't want to make extra money. They want to be able to come and go. I'm like, really? My staff kicked me under the table a lot. So, but people deserve a voice regardless of what side you're on. So
I actually agree with you on that point. I always say my show goes from Joe Biden on the right to the Green Party on the left, and I try to bring people in. I don't think we usually go. Nick Sposato is the only guy who's ever been on my show, and that's because I've known Nick forever. And I like the guy, even though we have so many political, but he's the only guy who's been right of Joe Biden, I think, ever on my show. Raylo comes on the show all the time too, Sue. He may be right of Biden, but he kind of covers that up. He tries to, well, no, I'm a Democrat. Okay. Raylo, we all know you voted for Trump. Who are you kidding? So I'm glad you have that attitude. I got to tell you, folks. I'm going to tell you I think the last time I saw Sue was right after Lori Lightfoot was sworn in, and we were outside the basketball arena, which our tax dollars
Wintrust Arena, $18 million in TIF built that thing.
Yeah, you know that. Anyway, so something good came out of it. We got to watch Lori Lightfoot give a speech in that arena. Anyway, and she came up and gave me this huge hug. She goes, "Can you believe I'm chair of the labor committee?" You know, whatever the full name of it is. And I was like, "All right, Sue Sadlowski Garza, badass, this, that, and the other thing." So I gave credit to Lori Lightfoot. In the bizarre world of Chicago politics, the mayor has a huge say, in who gets to chair the city council committees. I don't think that should be the way it is. I think the city council, independent of the mayor, should name its own committees. But Sue, you know Chicago, and the mayor had a say. So she had to approve it. And I thought it was a good sign that Mayor Lori Lightfoot approved you. So that was like in the early days when I was really feeling Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Not feeling her that much these days, Sue Sadlowski Garza. I'm just going to confess that right now, get your response. In particular, the last week or so, what she did to a dear friend of the show, Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor, was inexcusable in my humble opinion. Crossed the line to come down off the rostrum of the city council, walk up to Jeanette Taylor's face and put your finger in it. She just deserves more respect than that. And so I've gone from one extreme to the other with Lori Lightfoot from that day when I saw you and we hugged outside that Wintrust Arena. What's your position on Lori Lightfoot these days, Sue Sadlowski Garza?
So, look, I'm very humbled that I'm put into this position, and I will tell you, the city council is supposed to pick the chairs. It's not supposed to come. The bylaws say that the council is supposed to pick the chairs, but that doesn't happen in the weird, bizarro world of Chicago politics. Look, I think that for me, she's in a really crazy position right now, right? I mean, I think that, and I do agree with you about coming down off the diocese, coming down, absolutely should have never happened. Never happened. And I would hope that her and Alderman Taylor have spoke. I don't know if they have or not. That's the truth. I know on the south side of Chicago, you get in somebody's face and nose to nose. I think Alderman Taylor showed a lot of restraint. I really do. I don't know if I would have been able to do the same. And that's the truth. My first thing is when someone gets on me like that is I push back. You know what I mean? I don't walk away. I walk towards the fight. She showed a lot of restraint, and I've told Alderman Taylor that she showed a lot of restraint. That should have never happened. Absolutely not in any way, shape, or form. Ram would summon me in the back and put me in the closet and chew me out. I think that the past 2 years have been very difficult for a lot of us. And I think for me anyway, it just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming. I mean, it's just one thing after another after another. And this is not a sustainable lifestyle for, I think, any one of us. I think she's trying to do her best. I really do. I really think that the woman really cares about the city of Chicago. I just think that I wish she would relinquish some, I don't even know, like maybe the control part of it. I wish that in a perfect world, there would be better conversations and better communication.
Do you think that your ability to get different people with different perspectives into the same room and talking, could you do that in the case of Lori Lightfoot and Jeanette Taylor, or do they just not want you involved, or just Lori Lightfoot?
I'm not touching that. I am not touching that. Not touching that. If it's one thing that I've learned in the past 2 years is that I will not try to be a mediator anymore for anybody in a position. I tried that with certain entities, and it didn't get me anywhere. I was in the middle then. And it's not my thing. It's not my fight. It really isn't. It's like, I feel, well, then you say, an injury to one is an injury to all, right? I'm just trying to do the right thing every single day. And, people have to, in a perfect world, we should all be running the city together. Really. We talked about, the paper today said, oh, she's losing her power and, all this other stuff. But I think that, like, you and I talked about this, what did we ever get? What did the working class people ever get from a mayor that freaking is a strong ass mayor running the show? What did that get us? Why can't, in a perfect world, and maybe this is my fantasy, we would all be running the city together collaboratively. Because you know what? In a time of crisis, that's what good leaders do. They come together in the time of crisis, they stand shoulder to shoulder, and they get their people out of the crisis. That's what good leaders do, right?
Yeah, the article that Sue is alluding to is in today's Bright One, Chicago Sun-Times, home delivered as always. Power outage by Fran Spielman. It's an analysis of Mayor Lori Lightfoot's position.
Why are we talking to Pat O'Connor? Why? Why in God's name did frickin' Fran Spielman go to Pat O'Connor? What?
Stole the words right out of my mouth. Sue Sadlowski, Garza. A main source in this article is a man named Pat O'Connor for years and years and years, the alderman of the 40th Ward, until Andre Vasquez whooped him in the 2019 election. It was a runoff. Andre beat Pat O'Connor. Pat O'Connor was the floor leader for Mayor Daley and Mayor Rahm, and as such was the engineer to city council passage of some of the stupidest legislation ever passed in the city of Chicago. Exhibit A, if you need one, the parking meter deal.
Yep.
Okay.
Skyway,
that was
the sale of the Skyway.
Yes, the sale of the Skyway, which
now costs $5.80.
$5 one-way trip.
One way, and it goes. Here's the thing: it goes right into the pockets of a company in Australia.
Yeah. So, no, that one. And you know what the funny thing is? Now we're on a tangent with a tangent, but. The sale of the Skyway, this is how dumb people in Chicago can be. This is me, not Sue. So don't blame Sue for this. This is how dumb people in the city of Chicago are. And this is how Mayor Daley's strategists figured it. They go, if we tell the people of Chicago that we're selling a public entity for, and they just say like $1 billion, they're so dumb. They'll see $1 billion. Wow, that's a lot of money, man. What a great deal. And you dummies don't realize that $1 billion disappears like in a heartbeat with all the ongoing expenses it takes to operate a city. And furthermore, you're going to be paying out of your pocket because the private entity that now owns the Skyway wants to make money.
Yeah. And how about this one? We sold the parking meters, right? Yeah. And now every time we have a parade or Taste of Chicago or some kind of festival, and if there's parking meters on that street, we, the city of Chicago, the taxpayers, Dennis, Ben, and Sue, are paying the parking meter people to use the street. Yeah. So we're adding insult to injury. So we not only did we sell them, we're still paying them to use the street because they're not making revenue when we block off a street. What?
It was a terrible deal, and Pat O'Connor was the quarterback for the mayor in passing it. So why anybody would go to him for a quote on the current situation, I don't know, because
because nobody will answer the phone for Fran Spielman. Just saying.
Okay, that got me quiet for a moment. All right, there's another quote in the story, and I'll begin it by this. This show is sponsored by unions. I am a member of a union. When I got fired at the radio station, unions stood by me. Very loyal, okay? So I got a strong affinity for unions. particularly the Chicago Teachers Union, which is one of the sponsors of the show. My mother was a member of the Chicago Teachers Union for 40 odd years. She went on many picket lines, Sue Sadlowski Garza. And so that's where I come from. So I'm just so sick of the demonization of the Chicago. I know Jesse and Stacy can get under people's nerves, and I don't agree with everything they do. You know, I mean, we have fun making fun of Jesse with that little clip at the opening of the show that we do where you're standing in the corner. But why demonize the Chicago Teachers Union? Why is this become such a tool when the teachers stand up for some, like right now we have nurses on strike in the city of Chicago, or they just settled maybe, but SEIU Local 1 or 73 is on strike. 73 is on strike. And with Tony Preckwinkle, I don't see SEIU 73 being demonized. You know, why is this? And you were a member of the Chicago Teachers Union, Sue Sadlowski Garza. You were a key person in the 2011 strike. That's why Karen Lewis got to know you, or became allies with you. So what's going on here with the demonization, in your humble opinion, of the Chicago Teachers Union?
So look, I think that, you know, the teachers union has done a really good job of engaging, not just teachers, right? I mean, one of the things, we've always had the backing of the public because we teach your kids, right? We take care of your kids for 7 hours a day. But I think, you know, everyone deserves to bargain for the common good, and especially if it's issues that affect you in your workplace. I mean, that's what we're all about. Why is it different that when teachers say, "Hey, it shouldn't be 105 in my classroom"? Well, I mean, I don't know why people are demonizing. I don't know. I have no idea what the theory is behind that, but it's not right. I don't think it's justified. I mean, a teacher is the most important job. It's that job teaches every other job, because when you learn your craft, when you learn your trade, and I don't care if you're a teamster or a teacher or an apple picker, a teacher teaches you how to do it, right? So I don't know. I have no idea why they're demonized. I think I hate the fact that everything is played out in the press. One of the things when Karen, you know, Barbara Bird Bennett, remember her?
Yeah. Remember Barbara Bird.
Yeah.
B3.
Karen and Barbara, you know, didn't always see eye to eye, but, you know, they went to dinner once a month. They talked about what was going to happen. And we don't have that same kind of relationship anymore with CPS. It's just, everything is a fight, and it shouldn't be. It should not be a fight. I mean, teachers won their right to bargain, you know, against class size and working conditions. We won that back, and I think that's rightfully, they should have that right.
Yeah, no, that last strike I found baffling, and I'll tell you why.
Oh,
the things that the teachers were standing for are things that the general public wants, like more nurses, more social workers, et cetera, and so forth. And it just seemed to me such an easy victory, just for the mayor, and to hire more nurses. Who's against hiring nurses? I just, you know, and I still don't understand the vitriol in that strike, and the fact that, well, I guess it's just an ongoing power struggle in the city of Chicago. I began by saying nothing changes in the city of Chicago, and that's one example of it. By the way, just tell folks, just share this one memory. It's in the story that I wrote about you. So Lori Lightfoot was not the first mayor of the city of Chicago who was a jerk, to put it, you know, mildly, to aldermen. Rahm Emanuel may have been the king of the jerks.
That's a good band name. King of the Jerks. I'll present you live in person, King of the Jerks.
I think actually the last time I saw you, we were watching a cover band for the Rolling Stones. Mm-hmm. That was oh my goodness, that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago, but I think that was after it was sworn in. It was a friend of yours.
Maureen.
No, the lead singer. The lead singer in the band.
Yeah, the guy. Yes. Yeah. Ken. Phil and Gotti.
Yeah, that dude he sounds like Mick Jagger when he gets going. Anyway, we're not king of the jerk, but Ron was king of the jerks. So Sue finally defeats old boy Pope, Rom's guy in the 10th ward. And so the grand mayor, this is what they do. The powerful mayor calls the lowly alderwoman, the rookie, into his office and lays down the law. And this is why I call Ron king of the jerks. What was the law that he laid down to you, Sue?
So I was summoned. It was 2 weeks in, and I was summoned to the 5th floor. And it was me, Rom. I was by myself, and he had, I think it was Sean Rapallier was there, one of his people. And we sat down on this couch, and I was kind of looking around like, holy shit, this is an office, right? And I mean, really, like leather couches, just whatever. Everything that you think a mayor's office would be, that's what it was. Anyway, I sat down and he said, I want to get one thing straight with you. And he pointed his finger at me. I don't want a circus. And I said, I'm not a clown. I want to make the 10th ward better. That's why I'm here. And, shit, he thought I was going to be a circus. Come on now.
Yeah.
I mean, whew.
And that just goes to show. And this is where I'm going to make a concession to Lori Lightfoot. So prepare for this, Sue Sadlowski Garza. I've been hard on the mayor the last couple of days. She went after Jeanette Taylor, and it was inappropriate. And I'm a big fan of Jeanette Taylor. Even if I wasn't a fan of Jeanette Taylor, I thought it would be inappropriate. But it was compounded by the fact that I am a fan of Jeanette Taylor, JT as we call her. But I will say this. I've been reflecting upon Lori Lightfoot's comment. And that she made on Channel 11 the other night, where she said, and I'm paraphrasing, that they didn't care so much about boorish behavior, jerky behavior by mayors when it was white mayors, white men. And part of me wants to fight back against that, because her boorish behavior, rude behavior, was to a black woman, Jeanette Taylor, who was championing the rights of another black woman, Anjanette Young. But I think I must concede, Madam Mayor, you have a point. The city of Chicago, when it came to Richie Daley being a bully and Rahm Emanuel being a bully, to a large degree, Sue Sadlowski Garza, the attitude was, you need a tough mayor to run a tough city. So if he has to knock some people around and be a total idiot and jerk to them, that's how you run a city. And I never bought into that. Sue Sadlowski Garza, Rahm could have ushered you into his office and said, congratulations, you beat me. But now we're partners. What can I do to help you in the 10th ward? You know what I mean? He didn't have to sit there and be like the dude in Goodfellas to Joe Pesci. What, I'm a clown? You think I'm a clown? You know what I'm saying?
No, 100%. And it goes right back to what I said earlier. Like, you know what? We should all be running this city together. I mean, it shouldn't just be one person. And I mean, yes, the mayor of the city of Chicago gets to make decisions, 100%. And aldermen get to make decisions too. I mean, I don't call 56,000 people every day to say, hey, is it okay if I trim this tree? Or, we get to make decisions because that's what we're elected to do. But I don't buy into the fact that you have to be a strong, a bully or be rude or shitty to people to run a city or be a leader. That's not what a leader is. I don't, that's not my definition of a leader. It isn't. Again, we should be doing this together, good leaders in the time of crisis. And God knows we've been in a crisis for 17 months now? Yeah. Pandemic, civil unrest. I mean, violence out of control. It's just,
Oh, by the way, I told you I would ask you about this. When Raylo was on the show last week, when you started talking about civil unrest and violence, he announced that his proposal would be to pass an ordinance that would hold parents accountable for the behavior of their children. If their children got in trouble, the parents would either be fined, punished somehow or other, or sent to parenting school. I personally disagree with that proposal. And we had a mini debate on when he was on the show, whenever that was. What's your thoughts on it?
No, I don't agree with that at all. And there's studies that have been done that first of all, that doesn't work. We have to make sure that we going right back to the schools. We have to make sure that kids and parents alike have the resources that they need, right? I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. When I was a counselor at Jane Addams, I had a seventh grader that was pregnant, and she had the baby, and by eighth grade, she was pregnant with number 2. And the mom had allowed the boyfriend to move into the house while the kid was in 7th grade. I mean, she was 12. Here's the thing. So what am I going to do? Fine the mother or throw her in jail? Because I mean, that's crazy. We need to give people resources and the tools they need to be better parents and to be, to be productive. Because here's the thing. A lot of people don't know what's out there. They don't know what resources exist. They don't know where they could ask for help. Or there's a stigma behind mental health, or the mom's a drug addict and dad's not in the picture. The kid that's not the kid's fault. I mean, and a lot of kids fall through the cracks because I was one counselor with 894 kids. Me, one person. I did not have an aide. I did not have a secretary. I did not have anything. I was like a triage nurse, like running from thing to thing. I was in an inner city school on the south side of Chicago trying to just manage. I mean, it's ludicrous. And we cannot blame. I always say there's no such thing as a bad kid. It's kids that just weren't given a chance. And that's the truth. And I've seen kids turn around. You give kids a chance and the ability and the tools that they need to be better, they'll take it and they'll run and they'll wind up being iron workers or radio show hosts or, something. But everybody deserves a chance. You can't start fining people and, you're a bad kid. Here's $1,500 fine. And you're not even putting food on your table. I don't know how some of these kids as an adult, some of the things, the adversities and the things that these kids face every day, I don't even know how some of them show up to school. Because as an adult, it's difficult to face the things that these kids are facing. And that's what we have to look at and make sure systemically we give kids every opportunity and parents alike, because you can't just treat a kid, you got to treat the whole the whole nucleus, right? And that's including neighborhoods.
Just think about, that was a great riff, by the way, Sue. Think about, that was really good. But just think about what she said, 194 kids, and she was the counselor, 194 kids. I was very fortunate. I went to Allison.
Not 100, 894.
800, oh my God, that's even worse.
894 kids.
Wow.
And me. And the social worker was only there 2 days a week, and it was 1.5 days. So, give me a break.
I'm gonna go political on you folks. The teachers went on strike for more nurses and more social workers and more counselors, and they were called selfish and told to shut up, take the money, and go back to the classroom. There's something wrong with the mentality of a city. We have people fighting to change a situation where one counselor has 894 kids. Sue, when I was at Evanston High School, I remember my counselor, Mrs. Brown, so well. I don't know how many kids she had. She had a lot of time to spend, help little Benny get out of high school because I was struggling. That was a full-time job. Don't worry, we'll get you through chemistry. She probably called that chemistry teacher and goes, let's just pass this kid. Otherwise, he'll be here forever.
Get him out of here.
And so, nobody
goes into education to get rich. Trust me. Nobody. The average pension of a teacher is like $41,000 after 34 years of teaching. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to me. We need to put a bigger value on what teachers do and what educators do, because without them, if we're nothing. Our society, we're nothing without teachers. We're nothing.
All right, so we're going to close it down. I got two things I want to ask you. Number one, You started off by saying that things have changed for the worse. Has it gotten to the point where you don't want to run for re-election, or will you run for re-election?
As of today, July 1st, I'm running for re-election. But, I think that 2 years, I still have 22 months, 15 hours and 22 minutes left to go.
Yeah.
But, I don't know what 2 years is going to bring. I mean, here's the thing. I at the end of this term, I would have been fighting the good fight for 31 years. So, I love this ward, and I'm not done yet. Everything that we've, all the little things that we've done and all the little seeds that we've planted are starting to come to fruition. And I'm really proud of that. So I'm not done yet.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to hear. And finally, I'll ask you this. I can't even talk. So one of the great exchanges that Sue Sadlowski, Garza, and I had back when I was doing the story had to do with disco. And it's an ever-changing thing with Sue Sadlowski, Garza, and disco. And she hates it when I say this, but which is why I enjoy saying it so much. Back in 1979, Sue was one of those hoodlums running around Comiskey Park for disco demolition. She was a young rock and roller, and she hated disco. Back in 1979, I loved disco. And so, Sue, I know you watched the Bee Gees documentary.
Oh, my God. Fantastic.
And you've seen the light when it comes to disco. Am I correct on that one?
I have seen the light. Actually, I saw the light about 1982 when I started going, when I found out that going to the disco was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But in my dorm room at Western Illinois University, I had a sign on my door, and that was the year Saturday Night Fever came out. And, everybody on the floor on my dorm, in the dorm I lived in, would be blasting, Staying Alive and the Bee Gees. And I had a sign on my door, disco sucks, kill the Bee Gees. And yes, I was at disco demolition, and, I was part of history. My brother was running around the bases with his t-shirt off on fire. So what a thing. But yes, yeah. I love the Bee Gees. I think, I love Gloria Gaynor. I like it all now.
All right, that's good to hear. I'll be teasing Sue about this for the next 40 years or so. Sue, remember when you didn't like disco? In fact, we were driving around doing that. I remember this. When we were driving around doing that story going, and Michelle was in the back, the photographer, who was a totally cool person. And I think a Bee Gees song came on the radio. We cranked it up, man.
Yep.
We were having a good time.
Good stuff. That documentary is really good, by the way.
It's excellent. Yes, it's excellent. And they get into disco demolition, and they show it in a new light. It's not a very good light. Let's just put it that way.
Steve Dahl, Insane Coho Lips. That was the name. That was his, I don't know why I thought of that right now. Insane Coho Lips was his
tag
or something.
Yeah. No, the mind took you back to the Steve Dahl, the disc jockey.
Whatever happened to that guy?
I do not. I was, confession here, I was not a Steve Dahl fan. I mean, I know he's really talented at what he does. And having done this now for 4 years, I realize how difficult it is just to talk and make all these transitions. So got a lot of respect for Steve Dahl's ability to do it. But I just am not a fan of his. So I have no idea what he's doing. And I was on the opposite side of I love disco. I hated disco demolition. So I was on the opposite side.
If you think of that, though, I don't know why Bill Veeck allowed that to even happen.
Well, I know why. His son talked him into it. He wanted marketing, wanted people in the stands. It's always a struggle.
That's all. People in the stand. He got people scaling the walls, and it was crazy.
Yeah, not a White Sox fan among them. Just a bunch of drunken hippies.
Isn't that every Sox game?
Yeah, some truth to that. I love my beloved Chicago White Sox. They were victorious last night. All right, Sue Sadlowski, Garza, thank you so much. It's been too long. We'll bring you back more frequently. It's a blast talking to you. All right.
Hey, wonderful to talk to you, Ben. I miss you very much. And Dennis, thanks for all you do.
All right, very good. That's Sue Sadlowski Garza, the pride and joy of the 10th Ward, Alderwoman of the 10th Ward. Great job talking to her. And of course, the Dennis, the aforementioned Dennis, we couldn't do this show without him. So I want to give him a shout out.
There
Shout
we go.
out.
There we go.
And as Sue Sadlowski Garza, John Pope, Rahm Emanuel, Jeanette Taylor, and Lori Lightfoot will tell you about the only thing they agree on is that back home in Alton, they call him Dr. D. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
I'm not a doctor.
Hi,